Good evening. I am Anitra Steele, Chair of the Forums Committee. Welcome to our forum for Jackson County Legislature Districts 1, 2, and 3. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Kansas City, Jackson, Clay, and Platte counties. The forum will be recorded and available on the League's webpage, lwvkc.org, and on YouTube. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, grassroots, nonpartisan organization whose members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or political parties, we are directly involved with sharing important issues. Our mission is to empower and defend democracy. We envision a democracy where every citizen has the knowledge, the right, the desire, and the confidence to participate. Our membership is open to everyone. I'd like you to know the other League members volunteering with me. Cindy Schmidt is the timekeeper, and our Zoom is monitored by Janelle Shuey. The public has sent in the questions via the League's website, lwvkc.org. Tonight, we welcome our moderator, Dr. Carmelita Williams. Welcome, Dr. Williams. I will turn over this to you.
Thank you, Anitra. I'm delighted to join you for the Candidates Forum for Jackson County Legislature Districts 1, 2, and 3. The Jackson County Legislature functions as the county's legislative body. It enacts all county ordinances which are subject to approval or veto by the county executive and appoints the county clerk and county auditor. The Jackson County Legislature has 9 members who are elected to 4-year terms. 6 legislators are elected from individual districts for 4-year terms. Did I say that? While 3 additional legislators are elected from larger districts. At-large legislators must reside in the district they represent, but are elected countywide. Therefore, each county resident is represented by 2 legislators. Tonight, we'll hear from the candidates running for Jackson County Legislative Districts 1, 2, and 3. Forums last approximately 90 minutes. I'll ask each candidate the same question, selected from those submitted by the public. The order of candidate responses has been determined by random rotation. Each candidate will be given 90 seconds to respond to each question and 2 minutes for a closing statement. All of the candidates running for this seat have been invited. We welcome the candidates participating in tonight's forum. Candidates, please answer the question asked and stick to the topic. There will be no rebuttals, but you may go back to an issue during your 2-minute closing remarks. Let us begin. Okay, we will start with Ms. Kelly Thompson. Please introduce yourself and discuss your qualifications to serve in the Jackson County Legislature.
Sure. So, hello. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum as well. I'm Kelly Thompson. I'm running for 1st District seat. And I started my career in Washington, D.C. And I covered environment and energy issues on Capitol Hill. And so this gave me a really great perspective on policy and understanding the politics. And so I spent about 10 years in DC, moved back to Kansas City. I grew up in KCK, but decided to move back to Midtown. And this is where I started my family. I'm now a solo parent to 2 daughters, both students in KCPS. And, moving here, I've spent my career as an innovation leader and working in helping organizations understand who they are, understand who they're delivering for better, and really helping them solve complex problems, and deliver better outcomes for the people that they serve. And I believe that that is the core of what legislators' responsibility is in Jackson County.
Thank you.
And yeah.
I'll ask the same question to Mr. Miller. Please introduce yourself and discuss your qualifications to serve in the Jackson County Legislature.
Good evening. I'm Tony Miller, and my family moved here from Iowa in about 1985. So I am a product of the Fort Osage schools. I played football and studied political science at Baker University in Baldwin City, Kansas, and that's where I got my first taste of really learning about government and getting a taste for politics. And that was the springboard that led me to being a kit bond intern during my undergrad years. And so that, I would say, was pretty transformative, and ultimately led me to law school. And then I clerked for a judge in Jackson County. And from there, was a prosecutor in the drug unit that was funded by Combat, which is very important. And then after that, went into private practice, and really still, even though I was in private practice, had a yearning to serve. And like Miss Thompson, I like to solve problems and help people. And so the opportunity came to serve on the Combat Commission, be the chair. And then ultimately I ran for and served 2 terms on the Jackson County Legislature. I was the chair of the Land Use Committee, dealt a lot with zoning, but my real joy was constituent services and just trying to help folks.
Thank you. Same question to Mr. Rowland. Please introduce yourself and discuss your qualifications to serve in the Jackson County Legislature.
Good evening. I quite impressed with the candidates that's presented thus far. I can't say that I've got much more superior qualifications, but I am a lifelong resident of the Kansas City area. I worked in the blue collar industry for most of my life, and during which I attended Rockhurst University, at the time Rockhurst College, got my degree in business and accounting, after which I attended UMKC School of Law and got my JD in 1993 and been practicing since then. I have noticed a lot of issues that have presented themselves, especially here recently, and I believe that I would like to participate more in getting some of these issues resolved. I haven't had a whole lot of experience in government, but I intend to rectify that as soon as I can. Thank you.
Okay, question 2. We will start with Mr. Miller. Civility in governing entities is important. If elected, what would you do to maintain a civil, businesslike, and mannerly atmosphere in the legislature?
I think just being available and communicating and treating people, acknowledging their humanity and understanding that outside of this shell that we have to put on to go be in this office and do the work, that we are all people, and try to be a good listener. And in my previous service, before we got elected, or we'd been elected, we just hadn't been sworn in. I hosted a dinner. We sat around, and after you are elected, the ethics rules and things require you to not meet with too many people in the same room or whatever. And so I always observed that, but I would try to meet with people. We had dinner, people would talk to me. I was just trying to be around and be available. But I also, one of the best things I was told was that you can disagree without being disagreeable. So as long as you focus on issues and leave identity politics and extreme politics out, that's what I try to do. And just just treat people nice. Don't be a jerk. Listen, respond. Uh, that's the best thing I can say. And trust me, I had plenty of arguments with people that I served with before. But at the end of the day, even those people I had the strongest disagreements with, I'd still consider them colleagues and even friends.
Okay, Ms. Thompson, same question. Civility in governing entities is important. If elected, what would you do to maintain a civil, businesslike, and mannerly atmosphere in the legislature?
Sure. So, professionally, I believe in creating conditions for people that feel safe. I think that we do our best when we listen to each other. Ultimately, people just want to feel seen and heard. And so that's the baseline that I operate from, is that we need to give people the chance to share their opinion, to share their perspective. And we need to maintain that we are all humans, and that, specifically when it comes to the legislature, we're working together as a team, and we're ultimately trying to get things done for our community, the people that live within our community, and we are part of that community. And so, this means a respectful dialogue. It doesn't mean total agreement, but it means that we debate, and that we have thoughtful debate about the issue, and that we bring our best selves to the table, and that we understand that at the end of the day, we are all part of this community and we need to move things forward.
Thank you. Mr. Rowland, your turn.
Thank you.
Civility in governing entities is important. If elected.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe it all centers on just respect for one another, as Mr. Miller has suggested. Again, be available, listen, discuss, debate. Do not discount the other person's position. They have a reason to take the position that they do. Find out through proper, respectful dialogue. Understand the other person's position and organization's position. When you deal with organizations, you can't be involved in government or business or government without enjoying the discourse between both sides. And like I said, it all comes down to respect. If you can't have a respectful dialogue with someone, don't have the dialogue at all. But promote a respectful dialogue, and that goes well with both business and your personal relationships, and that's something that everyone should just encourage every day.
Okay, Mr. Rowland, we will keep you in catbird seat at the third question. And it's a short one, so I won't repeat it for each one. What are your top 3 budget priorities? And what programs would you protect if revenues decline?
My top budget what?
What are your top 3 budget priorities? And what programs would you protect if revenues decline?
Well, top priorities obviously is to ensure that you have enough resources to protect the core values of the county, especially education, fire and protection, and fire and police protection, and of course EMTs, that sort of thing. Those are the entities I would do everything I can to protect. After that, the one priority right now is, especially rearing its ugly head, is the tax debacle that's occurring right now. I think Mr. Lavoda has got good handle on the tax rate levy situation, which I think he has a good process that he needs to give credits rather than demand all the money at once. So let's protect the schools that have that are going to incur such a budgetary crisis if all the demands are made for an immediate refund. So that would be a protected point that I would make.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Miller. And you, what are your top three budget priorities?
Top three budget priorities. Well, I guess I'm looking at it maybe a little more narrow, is that I would look to the charter or I'm just looking at it a little differently maybe, but I'm looking at the charter and looking at what are the basics, what are the things that we have to do. So instead of being a mile wide and an inch deep and doing everything not that great, I want to focus on, we need to get the courthouse straightened out. It's got infrastructure needs. And so there's, infrastructure needs and then ongoing things such as rebuild the assessment office from the ground up and do lawful assessments by funding it properly. But we always, we need to fund properly our core functions such as the sheriff's office and the prosecutor's office, and fund these county level. These are all not things that we may do, but we must do because the charter requires us to. And so if we refocus the way we're looking at things in that direction, I think that would be the thing to do. Now, I care about parks, of course, and the courts are quite an investment that we have too, and particularly our juvenile court system needs our attention and our care.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson.
So, my working belief is that we invest in what we value and what are our priorities. And so for me, I believe in protecting public health and safety because I believe that is just baseline and foundational to a healthy community. I also think that similarly, the charter dictates that there are infrastructure pieces that we must, as a county, fund. We have to make sure that the prosecutor's office is funded, that we have to make sure that those infrastructure investments, that they continue to be funded. In addition, we also have to make sure that our tax levy districts, that flow of stable funding is making its way to them. So that includes our libraries, public schools. That is absolutely critical. And foundational. The other thing is that I really am focused on improving service delivery and modernizing service delivery. We need to be able for our residents to access public services in a way that meets them in a modern way. I think that there are a number of different things you can. People talk to me about the website as a very general thing and improvements that need to be made there. That's a good place to start, but there are many other places that we need to focus on too.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller, we'll start with you on the next one. Artificial intelligence. Okay. Artificial intelligence data centers have stirred up controversy in Jackson County and elsewhere. What involvement of the county do you feel is appropriate? Would you use tax incentives to support the building and running of such centers?
I think right now we're really feeling our way. And the smartest thing that this current legislature has done of late was to pass a moratorium on those types of things. And forgive me, maybe I didn't listen well enough, but did you suggest that would I support subsidies or would I just support the building of it?
Well, what involvement of the county?
What involvement? Okay. I just don't see how public money should go into something like that at this time, with all the other needs that we have and all the challenges we have, particularly with this tax burden and problem. I think that we can't put our head in the sand and as a country, but as a county, in terms of there's got to be data centers somewhere, but there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. But I think we all look at independence and what's happened there and the way that the community has been heard on that and the way that that's rolling out. And I think that we would want to do something, we're going to do something different. So I do support the moratorium at this time. And like any other thing, I'm open to listening. And if there's safe and things that the constituents agree on about how it ought to be done, then I'd be open to listening. But short of that,
Thank you.
I don't know we have a lot to do with it.
Okay. Mr. Rowland, artificial intelligence data centers have stirred up controversy in Jackson County and elsewhere. What involvement of the county do you feel is appropriate? Would you use tax incentives to support the building and running of such centers?
I'm sorry, you're addressing me, correct?
Yes.
As Mr. Miller indicated, the controversy right now is the data centers, which I believe support the AI proposition. I don't necessarily agree that tax dollars should support such an endeavor, especially with so much public opposition. Now, I am not as familiar with the opposition as it has been presented, or the basis for the opposition as I'd like to be. But as I understand it, it's the opposition, the utility use, the water use, and the noise complaints. These all are just, as with anything else, is incumbent upon the legislator to listen to the constituents and find out their reasoning behind their opposition. But it seems to me like that's promoting the use of tax dollars to support a private industry. And I don't necessarily believe that's in the best interest, unless, of course, the industry provides so much more support for the public or the constituents as they seem to appear at this moment. So I would oppose using tax dollars in that matter.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson, I'll read it again. Artificial intelligence data centers have stirred up controversy in Jackson County and elsewhere. What involvement of the county do you feel is appropriate? Would you use tax incentives to support the building and running of such centers?
Sure. So I do not support the use of tax incentives to build data centers. AI is here. Data centers are being built. And we need to, as a county and as legislators, we need to listen to the community and understand what it is that they want, balancing that with economic development as well. The debate around data centers is really, what we consistently hear is concerns around the environmental impact. So the water usage, energy usage, and then the impact on human health. We're not quite clear, and we don't have all of the answers. And so what I'm interested in is seeking out the specific data points to really understand what is happening with data centers, and then also understand what the community wants. So if data centers are going to be in our communities, what is it that the community would ask of the companies that are building these data centers? What is it that the community needs in this moment?
Thank you. Mr. Rowland, we'll start with you. According to our county charter, which was passed in 2010, from time to time, but no less often than every 10 years, the county executive shall provide for a charter review commission to review this charter, end quote. 16 years later, no charter review has been ordered. As a member of the legislature, what would you do to support a review of the charter?
Well, if the charter requires a review, then that should be brought to the attention of the county executive and schedule a review of the charter. I mean, it's if it's written in the charter itself, it's clear. The language is clear. I haven't seen that provision in the charter, but I take your word that it is in there. So if it isn't, and if it is in its plain language, it requires review every, would you say, 10 years, then it should be done. There's no doubt about it. I mean, why would there be an avoidance of having a review? I would suggest that I would bring it to the attention of the full legislature and the county executive as well, and see what the problem is about getting a review. And if there is a problem, let's address it, and let's just take it at that.
Okay, Ms. Thompson, same question. I'll repeat it. According to our county charter, which was passed in 2010, quote, from time to time, but no less often than every 10 years, the county executive shall provide for a charter review commission to review the charter, end quote. 16 years later, no charter review has been ordered. As a member of the legislature, what would you do to support a review of the charter?
Sure. So I think that it is important that we do it. And I think that the reason that the language is in there is because priorities change and they shift. And so I think that this is a real opportunity in a moment to set clear vision for what the county priorities are, and to really think about what is the strategic vision of our county? What is it that we're trying to do? And stabilize on a North Star so that we're all moving in the same direction. And so the charter review itself is really an audit of that. And I think that the first priority is to get clear on that strategic vision. And then as that commission is together, to audit the charter, to understand, is the charter set up in a way that it actually supports this trajectory of the vision that we're setting in place? If it is not, then I think that what we need to do is offer recommendations for how that charter needs to change, and then go through the established process to change the charter. Again, thinking about not just where we're at right now, not what just has happened in the past, but where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want to be in 10 years?
Thank you. Mr. Miller. I'll repeat it if you want. According to our county charter, which was passed in 2010, quote, from time to time, but no less often than every 10 years, the county executive shall provide for a charter review commission to review this charter, end quote. 16 years later, no charter review has been ordered. As a member of the legislature, what would you do to support a review of the charter?
So historically, while there were no charter review commissions convened during my time there over 2 terms, there were charter amendments that were placed on the ballot. My preference was, although I was not successful at the time, but if given the opportunity, I would love to work with a county executive, whoever that would be, to take a more academic approach to it, and rather than coming in all high and mighty and being like, I have all the answers and I know what we need. Well, hold on, let's convene. Let's not go into it with the answers already. Let's keep an open mind and keep an open into it, and bring in community leaders, bring in academics. I wanted to convene something at UMKC and try to do these things. And it may require a little bit of money to put it together. But I think if we get voices from each part of the community, We can convince a county executive to give each legislator perhaps 3 names that they could submit so that every district in each corner of the community could be heard. And then we could work forward to have a collective idea of what changes we want to make, including term limits, putting the elected assessor in there, and really trying to clean up put guardrails on this imperial executive format that we have now.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson, we'll start with you for this question. With the loss of Arrowhead Stadium and the relocation of Kauffman Stadium, what do you envision for the Truman Sports Complex?
Sure. So that is a great question. And it's something that I have been actively discussing with community leaders throughout Kansas City, throughout the county, because the one thing that area cannot do is just be, it can't be abandoned. And it needs to take into account the residents that live there, the opportunities that they need, and the existing infrastructure that we have. I think if we're forward thinking, we can think about things that support our kids in our communities. And so that can look like, think of a center where I'm thinking of some of our career centers, some of our workforce development centers, and tying that in with our school districts. What does an innovation center for our schools look like? Is that a possibility for that space? I think it's something where we need to think about the youth and think about how we can leverage that space for them.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rowland.
Yes.
With the laws? Go ahead.
Yes, there's quite a bit of acreage there that can be used in many, many ways. And my first thought was to encourage some light industry. With the current progress of electrification, I would like to see an industry similar to the Panasonic plant in Kansas. I would like to see some kind of industry tailored towards the electrification of vehicles and solar panels, and et cetera, et cetera. Barring that, I would like to set aside some of the property for parks and recreation uses, if possible. And it could be there could be a number of uses that property could be put to use. I really hate to see the demolition of such a facility because of the longevity that it's had. And it would cost an enormous amount of money to demolish such a facility. I'd like to see something useful in that facility rather than terminate it. So I like to explore all options.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Oh, I think we need to listen to the community first. But if my ideas are part of that narrative, then I think back to when the Rock Island Trail was trailheaded there at Arrowhead. The idea is that there could be the Rock Island Trail. There's an easement that goes around Arrowhead as it is currently that could connect under the highways and over to another county park and possibly be part of a backbone of trails and other kinds of transportation that can connect our community. We rezoned the area around Arrowhead for development, but the team stood in the way and wouldn't allow it. In fact, it was really sad to hear them say that it wasn't worthy of development. It is worthy of development. I'm not saying that we need to spend public money to develop it, but if there was an opportunity to accomplish some of the goals of, manufacturing, mixed use, retail, housing, all those things, along with parks, and done in a tasteful way, it could live right next to the Rock Island Trail and really be a gem. That's going to take work, it's going to take vision, and it's going to take listening to the community. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and it is exciting if we look at it from that way.
Okay. Mr. Rowland, we'll start with you with the next question. What role should Jackson County play in attracting businesses and creating well-paying jobs? If tax incentives are given, how will you ensure incentives produce measurable benefits for taxpayers?
Well, I put a little bit of thought into that question. I'm basically against tax incentives unless it has a direct beneficial impact to the community. For example, I've seen a lot of industries who get tax benefits, tax deferments for 30 years, 20, 30 years. And when the time's up, they get up and move away. I don't want them to be hop skipping around to other communities, get the same benefits, and then just move away when the benefits expire. I would like to see a company that requests some kind of benefits give a direct give it back directly to the people. For example, if you want a tax benefit, you can have a graduated benefit. In other words, you hire more people, more local people to work in your industry. The more people you hire, the more tax benefit you get. So other than that, you have many ways that you can provide a tax benefit in a measurable, graduated way to where the community doesn't lose out on just giving away money. I don't like giving away money, no matter whose it is, especially mine, but I don't want to give someone else's money away. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
I'm so sorry. Would it be okay to restate the question?
Sure, absolutely. What role should Jackson County play in attracting businesses and creating well-paying jobs? If tax incentives are given, how will you ensure incentives produce measurable benefits for taxpayers?
Well, the first thing we've got to do is get the tax mess under control, because if people don't want to do business here and there's not predictability in business transactions, then they're not going to want to be here. And I've anecdotally heard all kinds of these stories. So if we can get our hands around that, follow the law, do assessments properly, treat people with respect, treat businesses with respect, then we can have the conversation about tying, if there are going to be any kind of things given, it must be tied to job training, working with our local labor groups and things, and making sure that we're making training so that our local people can get the jobs that are going to go into the development of these enterprises. So now, to be intellectually honest, this county legislature has governance over unincorporated area and county land. So we are not in the business of dictating that policy to other parts of the county. So our reach is not that wide, but there are many opportunities within the county, such as the McCune School, the issue you brought up with about there's land out east all over the place that could be looked at, and then the stadium.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson, do you want me to read it again for you?
No.
What role? You got it?
Go ahead.
I just want everybody to have fair access to the question. What role should Jackson County play in attracting businesses and creating well-paying jobs? If tax incentives are given, how will you ensure incentives produce measurable benefits for taxpayers?
Sure. So, fundamentally, if we're asking taxpayers to invest in private development, then taxpayers deserve measurable return on investment. And so I think what I would expect are clear community benefit agreements. And it needs to be explicit in what the community is actually, what the public is actually receiving. And so that looks like, leading with performance metrics, and annual reporting, just to make sure that, and I think that's an accountability piece. I also think that, any kind of development, it requires quality jobs that, with livable wages, and, infrastructure commitments. So if there is, increased use of infrastructure, that we do have, that I suppose the residents aren't left paying for that use, but that there is investment in our infrastructure as well. And again, I'll just go back to transparency. I think that is one of the biggest things that the public should have access to. So we need to understand, is the developer meeting its commitments, and are we holding them accountable as a legislature?
Thank you. And we'll stay with you for the next question. What plans would you promote to make housing more affordable?
Sure. So this is actually an interesting, a very important and interesting topic, and it's one that obviously everyone in the community is talking about. We don't have enough affordable housing. I've seen a lot of different plans, and there are a lot of groups that are trying to tackle the issue. And what I think needs to happen is that as a region, we need to come together. We need to come together as, the county, the city, and understand, the cities and counties, there's a little bit of a symbiotic relationship there. And so we need to understand, in terms of affordable housing, how can we work together to actually promote that? And what are the tax incentives that are being given? And then what are the property taxes that are being, that we're collecting on these? And so I think that it is a complicated issue that is going to require the entire region to come up with additional solutions for how we get to affordable housing. I don't want affordable housing I want it to be a mixed use perspective, where we're not just putting affordable housing here, but that it permeates throughout the entire county.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, would you like for me
would it be okay may I have the question, please?
Yes. What plans would you promote to make housing more affordable?
I hate to beat the same drum every time, but making assessments fair, accurate, keeping seniors in their homes, keeping people on fixed incomes in their homes, all those kinds of things, and leaving it so that they can have their family live in that home when they're gone. One thing that I worked on previously was the idea of the land bank and the land trust and things, where we identify problem properties, places that are completely upside down with tax debt or what have you, and we work with people to get those vacant places turned around and turned into a place where families can live. And those are all over the place. And we give people an incentive, perhaps, to do some of the work themselves, or to, they get the property at a reduced rate, and then it makes it economical for either a person to make their own, build their own place, or someone who's in that business to do it at an affordable way. And I think it cleans up blight, and then it provides housing. Now, I will say the county is not necessarily the vessel for federal housing money. I believe that's the city, and maybe the state as well. So we don't have a huge role in it, but we can do these measurable things. We can do things in our lane to help.
Thank you. Mr. Rowland,
Uh,
what plans
yeah,
would you promote to make
yes,
housing?
affordable housing is becoming less and less prevalent in the area. I've got a couple of ideas that I want to float around. One is I like the Jimmy Carter's program of the Habitat for Humanity process, where uh, housing can be built and the the proposed residents can get a pretty good deal about purchasing such a property. And as Mr. Miller had indicated, there's a lot of blighted properties in the area that can be used for renovations for habitat purposes. And so the affordability of the residents of the properties can be established by appropriate renovations and allowing the people to enter into that residence at a fairly affordable price. The other option I would like to do is see that the senior citizens can trade downsize, because as we well know, the older you get, the less property you have you will need to maintain. And by allowing it through a tax program, you allow them to take the senior credit with them.
Thank you very much. Ms. Thompson, the next question. There are 4 ballot measures from the legislature on the August ballot. I'm going to ask you about the 2 most controversial ones. First, Amendment 4 would require the ballot measures submitted by citizens could only pass if they achieved a majority vote in each of the 8 congressional districts. Amendments from the legislature would only require a simple majority of all voters. What is your position on Amendment 4?
So I'm very clear on my position on Amendment 4. I am no on 4. This is an important right that we have as citizens to be able to put things on the ballot. And, you know, the idea that how Amendment 4 is written, the idea that 7% of the state could eradicate what the majority of the state wants, that math doesn't add up for me. This is this is a right that we have as citizens. And so these citizen-led initiatives that we've had in the past have resulted in some really significant supportive pieces of legislation. Things like Medicaid expansion, abortion access. I'm forgetting some of the others, but I think it's all to say that these are crucial, fundamental things that the community wants, and so Amendment 4 is a solid no.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Boy, I don't claim to be a subject matter expert on 4, but I understand that the folks who are opposed to it are concerned about democratic access to having the public sort of have a safety valve where they can be heard, and I respect that. And I think, on the other hand, folks are concerned about out-of-state money driving issue campaigns that may not be reflective of what Missourians want. But at the end of the day, if it came down to it, at this point, I would probably have to be a no on 4 as well. The way it's written, I'm open to suggestions for change if they wanted to change the initiative petition process, but the way it's currently written, I would likewise be a no.
Mr. Miller. I'm sorry, Mr. Rowland.
Yeah, thank you. As I understand it, you're referring to the Constitutional Amendment 4. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me?
As I understand the amendment as it's written, one majority of one district can veto basically the other 99 or whatever districts that are involved. And in my entire life, it's always been majority rules, not majority of one entity rules the progress or rules the attributes of the remaining portion. It sounds to me like, for example, a rural area in Cape Girardeau could simply overrule an issue that's critical to a majority of the state of Missouri's residents. And I find that untenable. I don't agree with that. I think a majority should rule, majority of the entire body should rule any issue. So I'm a solid no on Amendment 4.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will stay with you, Mr. Rowland, for this next question. It says Amendment 5 proposes replacing the income tax with increased sales tax, including sales taxes on services such as haircuts and auto repairs. What's your position on Amendment 5?
Well, right off the bat, I'm a solid no, and I'll tell you why. The way I've read Amendment 5, it acts as a tax shifting amendment. My understanding is that the taxes they want to impose would affect most of the people who make less than $100,000 a year, and that is also gives up, as my understanding, it also gives up the right to vote on any other tax establishments, any other process where new taxes can be established. It also gives you give up the right to determine how much. I believe I need to review the language, but it seems to me like they're wanting to control more of your tax income, and I find that as a no, because again, it says that your income tax will be reduced as revenues increase. There's no guarantee revenues will increase, and even if so, where is it going to be? The revenue is going to be increased from the imposition of additional taxes. I find that untenable.
Okay, Ms. Thompson?
Go ahead.
Amendment 5 proposes replacing the income tax with increased sales taxes, including sales taxes on services such as haircuts and auto repairs. What's your position on Amendment 5?
I am a no on 5. And I will make it, I'll bring in some personal context here. So, at the top of this, I mentioned that I have 2 kids in public schools. And so this Amendment 5, the loss in revenue to public schools throughout the state is $1.4 billion. Missouri already ranks 49th in state funding that goes to public schools. So we're already almost last in the country. Thinking about the loss of $1.4 billion, I mean, this is salaries to teachers. This is supporting so many of our students that have additional needs. And all of those things would be stripped from that huge loss. So I think this Amendment 5 fundamentally is dismantling the structure of our communities. And so I am a solid no on 5.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, once again, I'm not a subject matter on this particular policy, but I can just tell you from my perspective, and I've been wrong before, so people can tell me that one way or another. But I'm concerned about folks on a fixed income. For example, my folks, you know, they currently don't probably pay a lot of income tax. And then if it was shifted to an increase in sales tax, it would probably hit them pretty good. I think that the people who want to grow our state, and I think their hearts are in the right place. It might just be the execution of how it affects certain groups who are lower earners, that's the issue here. And also perhaps the uncertainty of the repeal of Hancock for that 5-year period, or whatever it is. Once again, I did not come to this meeting to be a subject matter expert on Amendment 5, but that's just my personal take on it. Is that it seems that it could be regressive if it wasn't executed in the right way, and that and I'm certainly not saying that I have the answers to everything either on that topic, but yeah, I'd be concerned about how it would impact folks who aren't currently paying income tax.
Okay, and we're going to stick with you for the next question. What do you
Can you do a little easier on me this time?
What do you envision for the old jail facility?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You guys, I'm just telling you, having lived through the planning process for the new jail and going and being one of the people that was pulling the whistle saying, we've got to do something. Do I really want to build a jail? No, that's not what I want to spend my time and money on, but it is necessary for the safety of the people who work there and the people who are housed there who are presumed innocent until proven guilty. So the answer to that building is there was a 10-story stack that's about this big around that is filled with human waste that is leaching into the work areas of the corrections officers that were working there. It was deplorable. I've toured it many times. I've spent time with clients there. Um, I hate to say it, but demolition might be the only way to handle that. I would hate to spend a lot of public money to try to polish a turnip, because that building is atrocious. I mean, it is a hazard. There's all kinds of good things that could be repurposed for the land around it, and including that. But I I guess I would just want to hear from an engineer. I was told during this process that we absolutely had to do something different. We could not further um, remake that building into anything, including a jail facility. So, um, yeah, I would have concerns about occupying that structure.
Okay. Ms. Thompson, what do you envision for the old jail facility?
Sure. So, Tony, actually, that's some interesting perspective that I hadn't heard. And the honest truth is, what I am looking for is an assessment of that building to understand
Yeah.
the viability of it being something, transforming it into something that actually um, serves the community. And so, I mean, it is really a when I look at it, I think of it as a cost benefit. So what is the investment that would have to be made to repurpose it into something? Or does it, is there another path to go down for that structure? And so I think where I'm at on this right now is really trying to get a better sense of the state of the old facility.
Okay, Mr. Rowland.
Yes, that's interesting that comes up. I haven't had the pleasure of touring the facility very often. I try to avoid the place, but
Pleasure, Dennis. Pleasure. No.
I've been there once or twice. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I as Mr. Miller said, you really need to take a look at it from an engineer's standpoint, and look at the bones of the place, look at the foundations, look at the structure itself, and see if it's got enough status or enough of a structure to support an alternative use. If it doesn't, maybe the only thing left to do is demolition. But as with the Chief Stadium, I believe the reason they're looking for another place is because it would be too cost prohibitive to renovate the place, and they're looking at tearing down. If the old jail is similar in that status, then perhaps that is the best. But without knowing what the complete review is of the place, you can't make a reasonable decision unless you have someone like an engineer, a structural engineer, come in and look at the place and give an opinion. So as far as I'm concerned, all options are open until you can determine the best use to the amount of damage to the building.
Thank you. This next question comes from someone who used to work at the Jackson County Jail. Question is, how do you plan to pay for the additional services necessary to provide, quote, justice with dignity, end quote? For our viewers who may not be familiar with this term, justice with dignity provides appropriate support services to incarcerated individuals to assist them in the transition to life on the outside. And we will start with Mr. Rowland.
Well, if I understand you correctly, you said justice with dignity. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I used to work down in Jefferson City, and I would meet with several people who had been discharged from the prisons down there before they moved out to Alcoa. And they were given a few dollars in their pocket and a train ticket and told them to get out of town. Now, that's not dignity, but I'm sure there's a lot of inmates that have actually turned their lives around, or at least tried to turn their lives around. And when they have tried to turn them around, then what resources are available? I think there are halfway houses that are in existence right now. We may need to expand that and expand the available halfway houses and expand the services inside those halfway houses and make it available to people who actually want to turn their lives around. And sometimes, just like people who are addicted to drugs, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 attempts. You can't really give up on people if they actually want to do something constructive with their lives. And I think Jackson County, I think anybody, including Jackson County, should be able to use the resources to promote that kind of situation.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
Sure.
This next.
Nope. Go ahead. One more time. We're going to do this dance a couple of times.
Give her time back.
Yeah, she needs her time back. It's a long question. This next question comes from someone who used to work at the Jackson County Jail. Question: how do you plan to pay for the additional services necessary to provide, quote, justice with dignity, end quote? For our viewers who may not be familiar with this term, justice with dignity provides appropriate support services to incarcerated individuals who assist them in the transition to life on the outside.
Sure. So, I think the framing the question, I think it's about funding effective services, and I believe that that is a pathway for successful outcomes. It's, I think, public safety and fiscal responsibility. I think they go hand in hand. And so it's about, where do we want to actually spend our money? Do we want to spend it in a place that can improve outcomes for our community and for the individuals, or do we want to spend it in places where, not having that kind of a program, not investing in that, we may find that those individuals are coming back into the system. We end up spending a lot of money just to, just for incarceration. And then there is also the impact that's made on, whatever crime they're committing. They're victims of that crime, and that is those can have generational impacts. And so as a community, we're not just paying for that moment, we're paying over time. And so, I just firmly believe in providing adequate funding.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
So, acknowledging that the Jackson County Detention Center or jail, whatever you want to call it, is really designed to hold pretrial inmates who have not been convicted of anything. So there are very relatively few sentences that are actually being carried out there. So the real social work, if you will, for people who are serving like a real sentence, that's going to be in the state system. But for locally, I think the answer to how we pay for it is right in front of us. It's the combat tax. The jail is part of the pie chart that says how we break out the collection of that tax. The community voted for that and put that upon themselves, and then is funding that. So it's not left up to just where do we find it in the sky. It's there. There's a jail section of the combat thing. And if there was a will to increase that from other portions of how that tax is paid, then that could be done too. But keep in mind that there's the jail section, and then you've got your prevention and treatment section of that revenue stream that has the providers already built in that can go out to the facility and to meet those people's needs, whether it's drug treatment, medical, mental health, all those things, job treatment, education, all the things are right there. And I think that it can be paid through combat if it's used appropriately.
Okay. Next question we'll start with Ms. Thompson. Does Jackson County have a system to automatically reassess property when it changes owners? And if not, would you work to establish one?
Reassess properties. Do they have a system in place right now?
Yes.
That's the question.
The question is, does Jackson County have a system to automatically reassess property when it changes owners? And if not, would you work to establish one?
Yeah.
I object.
So
that's a hard question.
That is a hard question. And the truth of the matter is that I don't know the specific answer to the first part of the question. I think what it really, we're speaking about property tax reform and accountability and transparency into that process, right? At least I think that's what the question is really alluding and pointing to. And so I am a proponent of that. At the beginning of this conversation, there was a question about what are your 3 budget priorities, and one of them being modernizing service delivery. Well, the county, our big role is the management of property taxes, collecting those, making sure assessments are in line, and making sure that, citizens, that property owners understand the processes and that it's transparent. Right now, it has been a very, I think frustrating is probably an understatement for a lot of people, but frustrating system and process. And there certainly hasn't been a lot of transparency around it, which is why we have arrived at the place that we're at right now with, I won't belabor the point of where we're at now, but ultimately, I think my answer comes back to absolutely, we need to move forward with transparency and accountability.
Okay. Mr. Miller?
My answer would be I have no idea what they're doing. There's not an assessor on the jobs currently, and So there should be someone that comes in there with a fire under them and get it done. Intellectually speaking, I think that the notion that you should pay um, taxes on unrealized profits or gains or whatever you want to call it is it's devoid. It's intellectually devoid. It's not. It's crazy because imagine a senior who the county says your house is all of a sudden double its value. Well, where are they going to get the money to pay that? They didn't actually sell it. They don't have that money. It makes no sense. So if someone does sell a home and they did sell it for a measurable value that's reported, then yeah, that's a fair value. If that's what it sold for, then that's fine. And they should do that. That's a great idea. Another opportunity, I guess, to actually know what the value of a piece of property is if you spend money on improvements, then that might justify a change in the valuation. Or if it suffered a loss, they got a lightning strike with a fire and they didn't get it fixed and whatever. But this whole notion, which by the way is this is a state law that says that we do taxes this way. So to find this fair market value, well, it's baloney. It's made up, and it's you should see the 3 comps that were done to my parents' house. They weren't even comparable at all.
Thank you. Mr. Rowland.
Thank you. This is an issue that I've been wrestling with for the last 3 years. There is no automatic reassessment process for each county. Reassessment is covered under state statutes. I believe it's section 137, which says that reassessment is to occur every odd numbered year based on the assessed valuation as established as January 1st of odd numbered years. There is no automatic process. What you do is the assessor is supposed to assess the properties in the each individual counties, and based on those assessments, the assessment values go out to each taxing jurisdiction, which sets its own tax levy rates. The current debacle finds fault on both sides. First of all, Jackson County hired Tyler Technologies, which kind of bunged up the whole mess by doing these drive-by assessments, and they didn't do assessments properly, and that's why we're in the mess we're in. The Jackson County collects, and each taxing jurisdictions are supposed to revise their tax levies according to the new reassessments, and a lot of them, while they did, they still received what we call excessive revenues, and that's why we're in such a mess. But there is no automatic process right now. It needs some serious renovations, which I intend to look into very heartily.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
I spoke on the tax issue. I'm happy to listen.
How much does it cost to run a campaign for the Jackson County Legislature? What are your 3 largest expenditures?
Well, I would say printing. You got your yard signs, you got your palm cards, you've got maybe a website, and really shoe leather. So for better or worse, I'm my own webmaster, which you can tell by looking at my website. It's not that great, but as endorsements come in, I have to find the logo and put it on there and update things. And but the printing, I'm doing an in-district campaign, which is different than an at-large campaign. So there's also going to be digital. There's maybe some streaming ads, maybe some small commercials and things. Those are really the core of what I'm doing. At a state rep level, they're going to have different things, and like the countywide candidates and the county executive candidates, they might do radio, they might do TV. Mine is very district specific and targeted, and I have to be a good steward of the money that I have because I don't have a ton.
Okay, Mr. Rowland.
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know how much it costs because I don't have a campaign. I don't have a campaign manager. I don't have donations. I'm just entering this at my own free will, at my own cost. I haven't spent anybody else's money, and I don't intend to. I don't ask for it. I'm not interested in anyone else's money. Uh, I just do it on my own. And if anybody has any questions, they're more than happy to feel free to give me a call. I'll answer any questions that anyone has. Uh, I, I don't have a website. I'm not a social butterfly that has Facebook. Uh, I'm basically have kept a fairly low profile over the last few years, and I guess I want to enter this race because mainly because of the tax assessment issue. And I've spoken at several of the public hearings, and one of which is the recent hearing regarding the tax credits that Mr. Lavoda has proposed. I suggested to Mr. Lavoda I could appreciate his attempts to try to minimize the impact, but I think a better way of doing it would be to engage the taxing jurisdictions and get agreements on them. And I don't know if it's effective or not, but I later found out that there are two jurisdictions that are suing Mr. Lavoda because they feel that he doesn't have the authority to enter into a tax credit program. So that's my issue.
Okay, Ms. Thompson.
Sure. So to answer the first part of the question, the cost of a campaign is depends on what kind of a campaign you're running. It depends on the race. My perspective around campaigns is that a campaign is an opportunity this is your first opportunity to listen to the community. And so I see it as you have to have reach and visibility and introduce yourself to people and get to know them, and vice versa, that they get to know you. And so the expense of that is it is printing. I think that is my largest expense to date. It's the walk cards for when you're out knocking doors. These are in district races, and so it is possible to win these races by going out and just knocking doors, because of the amount of voters and the geographic size. And so but yard signs and walk cards and there are digital expenses as well. And so yeah.
Okay, thank you. This is the last question I have. You can all exhale. The question
Oh,
What question do you wish I had asked, and how would you have answered it? Mr. Brolin.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. I apologize.
What question do you wish I had asked, and how would you have answered it?
Well, I'm a little taken back by surprise. I hadn't even considered something like that.
same.
The question I think I wish you had asked was already asked, actually, and that was doing the tax assessment issue. And as Mr. Miller had indicated earlier, I think that needs to, and I support the election of a tax assessor. It's my understanding that the tax assessor is elected in the majority of districts in the state of Missouri. I think we ought to join that process. I think that that would be, how would I say, the most prevalent issue, the most immediate issue right now. But not to take away, there's so many other issues that can be addressed, that need to be addressed by Jackson County, including the Sports Authority. My other question is the relocation of Royal Stadium, for example, is downtown. And when I looked into the matter, the cost of, the revenues that are generated from the parking alone, I believe, goes to the Sports Authority. Where will that revenue be going to now if the parking is down at downtown? What are we going to do to fund the Sports Authority with the loss of revenue from the Royal Stadium? These are questions that I've pondered, and I don't know the answers. I wish someone could give me an answer to that.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
I'm struggling to come up with the question that I wanted you to ask because you did such a thorough job with us, I think.
Right.
I guess I would just say if you ask me what my priorities are, they would just be to restore sanity and fairness to this property assessment process. I think people just lost so much faith in the whole thing when the last administration had an axe to grind, and then they carried it out and they dug in and they were recalcitrant and they didn't listen. And they just kept doubling down on stupid. I mean, they just kept coming. And then instead of following the state tax commission orders, they thumbed their nose and went to court and weaponized the county councilor's office against the taxpayers. I mean, it's just, this is the number one thing that people talk about at the doors. It's the number one thing that I want to work on. And if we can also bring some professionalism back and treat each other with respect and dignity, listen to opposing views, and just try to make the place more transparent. And I don't know, it's in bad shape right now, but it's worth saving because it must be saved. And if not us, who then? And so instead of running from the fire in the building, we should run towards it.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
Sure.
What do you wish I had asked?
Yeah. I wish that you would have asked, what is your why? Why are you running? Because for me, that answer, running for political office has never been a career ambition of mine. I've always been policy adjacent. I talked at the top of the hour. As a journalist, have professional credentials to be in the role. But my why really comes from being a mom and living. I volunteer in schools. I was a Girl Scout troop leader. Show up at the meetings. Support the band and doing all of these kinds of things. And as you're a parent in these communities, you see such a cross section of the entire area, and realizing that, I think in systems. And so I saw how public health and housing and transportation and safety, mental health, property taxes, how these all culminate and they come together and they showed up in schools. And so that's why I'm running, because I truly believe public service is important. And I think I want to model for my girls that their voice is important. And it's the best way I know how to do it.
Okay, thank you. Candidates, it is time for your 2-minute closing remarks. I want to personally thank you all for joining us. And in addition, we'd like to ask that you share the League's website with the voters and encourage all citizens to show up on each election day and exercise their right to vote. Now for our candidates' closing remarks. Mr. Miller, you have 2 minutes. You may begin.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, and thank you to the folks who appeared here tonight with me. I feel like I probably know you better now than I did before. No, I think that the county is worth saving, and it's going to require us all to work together. People from different backgrounds, from different corners of the community, and I think it regardless of what political angle you bring to it, we've got to get back to basics. We're so far out there now that we're scattered. We're an inch deep and a mile wide. We're not making an impact. There's just transactional relationships and people doing backroom deals, and all these things are not delivering things to taxpayers or helping anybody out. So we need to get back to our ABCs. So if we get assessments right, which is the A, and we use the budget to first fund the things that we must fund, and then look at things that we want to. But we need to do a handful of things really well instead of a bunch of stuff not very good at all. And then C is charter reform. We have to acknowledge that as a legislature, we don't get to grab these executive functions that are fun to talk about, and we can't do that on our own. We have to acknowledge that we're going to be one of 9 votes, but we can use charter reform, and we can use that process to put a vote to the people to make some structural changes that can make a real difference for the next 50 years of Jackson County, such as looking at term limits and looking at putting guardrails on an executive form that is fraught with cliffs on all sides. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
Sure. So, thank you again to the League of Women Voters, and thank you to my fellow candidates here that showed up. I think it's important. So we've talked about property taxes, we've talked about public health, economic development, public safety. And, as I think about all of the issues that we've talked about, and I think about county government, I think what we're really talking about is reestablishing value and trust. And it's trust that your representatives, that they're listening, trust that we're following the law, trust that dollars are being spent wisely, and trust that we can be accountable to the systems and the charter in place. And so again, my career really has been at the crux of helping organizations earn that trust, and oftentimes they've lost it. And so I'm pretty familiar with walking into situations where it is about rebuilding. And I think it involves, bringing stakeholders to the table, and those stakeholders are our community leaders, our economic development partners, and listening to the problems and improving how systems work, so that we ultimately can deliver better outcomes for our community.
Thank you. Mr. Rowland?
Well, once again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity for this discourse. And I can appreciate the other candidates. And as Mr. Miller suggested, I know you at least a little bit more now than I have before. And I appreciate your comments.
You as well.
Thank you. I have previously spoken to one of the current legislators that is not my district, by the way. And he and I both agree that there seems to be a substantial lack of common sense that's in this current legislature. And I've reviewed some of the writings and some of the ordinances that have been passed recently, and I can't say that I agree with the text of these ordinances, and they need to be revised to where they're certain and in the minor sense, but in the global sense, so to speak. I do believe that there has to be a fiscal responsibility, number one, and that's where I believe I can assist because, like I said, I've got an accounting background, and I believe that fiscal responsibility is one of the core obligations of any legislature. And I've had, in my practice, I've had several clients. I've handled clients' money before, and not one has lost a single penny. Thank goodness, otherwise I'd be disbarred, but that's another issue. But fiscal responsibility and, of course, accountability, those two go hand in hand. And there are so many more issues that need to be resolved that they have to be taken individually. So the best I can say is that we'll do the best we can. And as Mr. Miller said, this county is worth saving.
Thank you. Thank all of you candidates. I appreciate your participation. Now I'm going to turn things back to Anitra.
Thank you, Dr. Williams, and thank you, candidates, for your interest in the August 4th election. A recording of this forum is available for view on the League's website, lwvkc.org. Please take a moment to share our forums with your Facebook and Nextdoor friends and on other social media channels. Send it to your mother-in-law so she can see how well you did.
In heaven.
And remember, for voting and candidate information, visit lwvkc.org and vote411.org. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Have a good evening.
Night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night.